Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Kyle. I don't know what's going on here. Stream, I can barely see the chat, but I'm here anyways. And oh, maybe this is why. There we go. Now I can see you, Kyle. Welcome in, man. Okay, let me get you guys up on the old streamer my phone here so I can talk to y'all. There we go. All right. So yesterday I had an okay day. It wasn't the greatest day in the land. It was good, except for what we'll go through it. I'll go through all of the picks from yesterday. Some of them were like fantastic. Some of them were I kicked myself. The biggest one I kicked myself with yesterday was the Philadelphia Flyers pick. Watching the stream, and then all of a sudden I find out that it's Krejci's 1,000th game. Uh, Krejci's 1,000th game. Yeah, it's your birthday. How you doing, buddy? Elliot's in the stream. Cool. Yeah, I'm never going against Boston again. I didn't take Philadelphia to win, but uh, I didn't know it was Krejci's 1,000th game. I wouldn't even. No way I would have touched that. Not a million years. That pick kind of messed me up. Pick kind of messed me up. Let me bring up. Wait a sec. I gotta do something here. Video. Let me put my. There we go. I'll put myself up here in the corner a little bit. And there we go. And I'll go over to, where's yesterday's games? There we go. Okay, how does that look? Put myself over there. Okay, yesterday's games. Panthers versus Sabres. I I had the Sabres. I also had the over. I got slaughtered in this game, to tell you the honest truth, and plus 1.5. Early games, I got crushed. I had Flyers plus 1.5. I did have the under, and we just got the under at 6.5. Uh, thank God that kind of brought me up a little bit. But Sabres just didn't come out at all yesterday. I was really surprised that they didn't come out. Didn't come with a better effort there. In that spot, again, that game, the one thing I was hesitant about is they had Montreal the next game, and I'm going to do this way more often now. Seems to be something that I really got to look at. Whenever you got a team that's going up against a good team, especially a team like the Sabres that's young, and they have a winnable game the next game, it just seems very likely that they lose that game against tougher competition. And they did. And also the trend said Panthers, all that kind of stuff like that. I'm going to go back to my original thinking on Luukkonen that he's just not that great. I'm going to be doing a Vejmelka trade video coming up right away, and I'll give you a little sneak peek that the Sabres are in there. It has come out that Arizona is possibly looking to trade Vejmelka. And there's a lot of teams that if Vejmelka is available, I put him up there with the Sorokins and everybody. Like he's an amazing goaltender in a really bad position. So you're wondering why would they want to trade him? Well, goaltenders you can find. They are tanking, obviously. And I also think it's possible that Vejmelka at 26 years old might be thinking that it would be okay for him to move on, and have more of a career opportunity to win a cup, which you're not going to get in Arizona probably for 3-4 years. Maybe not. They could rebuild super fast if they got Bedard and stuff like that, and they got a great coach. It's possible, but it's also very possible that it'll be 3-4 years before they're even close to a contender. So it's possible behind the scenes that Vejmelka has said, you know what, maybe it's not a bad idea to get some value for me. So Buffalo would definitely be in there. Yeah, one trick pony. I think they're just young too, and it's getting to that part of the season where it takes young players a while to be able to handle the physical rigors of a full 82 game schedule. I'll admit it, I was off. I was on a bye on the Sabres. Second half, I thought that maybe they had built up enough physical maturity to handle it, but they haven't, and they're going to be. It doesn't look like they're going to be. I'm off of them now. I did have the over here. I mean, I thought for sure the Sabres would get more than one, but they didn't get very many shots. They just looked completely out of sorts. They looked like they just weren't prepared for that game at all. And it went into the tank pretty quick, and the Panthers were thirsty and they wanted it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Panthers again when we talk about all the games today. But it was a tough. I mean, it was a good spot for the Sabres. Everything they should have been able to do something, at least keep it tight. So I had Sabres plus 1.5 in the 2-pick parlay. Didn't work out. And yeah, the Flyers, I mean, I just dropped the ball all the shit on that game. I didn't know Krejci this was his 1,000th game. There's no way I'm even thinking that the Flyers, I don't care what their record was going into this. If the Bruins were engaged, they were going to win that game. It was silly. I did have the under, fortunately, to kind of soften it a little bit, but I took a big loss. I didn't even have a Krejci prop. That was an easy Krejci prop there. So I'm disappointed in myself in that. I don't know how. I never heard it anywhere either, all through the day. Like, it's like it wasn't, they kept it on the low key or something like that. I didn't have much on it, of course. I just thought the Bruins, aren't they playing the Leafs next? There was a look ahead spot, all that kind of stuff like that. But with Krejci playing his 1,000th game, it was silly of me to even think that, and I didn't know. So go to brighter skies. I had the Avalanche hard. I love the Avalanche in that spot. I also had the over hard, simply because I think like once the Avalanche score 7 goals, more than likely things are going to keep on clicking. And the Red Wings Avalanche, I think, have been over like 7 of their last 8 or something like that. Also, Ville Husso, that I said it in the beginning of the year when they signed that contract with Husso. I mean, really? You think he's a number one? Because he had a 1/2 a season in St. Louis where he was decent, and I had my concerns. And it seems, at least, I mean, any goaltender can change things around, of course, but he didn't look good. He hasn't looked good for a while. So to me, it was easy. I kind of kicked myself I didn't go the Avalanche team total over in that game. I was so starry-eyed with the pick I already had. I already had Avalanche in regulation, and I had the over in that game, which made up a lot for the earlier game there. Yeah, well, Husso hasn't been that great for the last couple starts. And it seems to me that, Stevie Yzerman is one of my favorite male humans in the land. But I'm starting to sour on like some of the moves he's making, like Sherratt for ridiculous amounts of money. And I thought Andrew Kopp was like, meh. Like, he's not a second-line center, Stevie. I don't know what you're thinking. He's an all-around utility guy. He's getting paid pretty high to be that there. I thought that when they got him, and I know he was a hometown boy and all that kind of stuff like that. Thought maybe you could get a better price on him. Getting a little concerned. And Huso moved too as well. But anyways, had the Avalanche, did that. I had the Devils in regulation, which they didn't get. I was light on that because it was sort of an overlooked spot for the Devils. And the Sharks do play hard. You got to say they do play hard. But I had the over, and I had the Devils in a 2-pick parlay to cover that loss, which was not. And I also had Devils team total over 3.5. So I sprinkled a whole bunch on a lot of stuff there to make sure I was covered in all of it. And it felt like one of those kind of games that the Devils could struggle a little bit. I considered the Sharks team total over, but I didn't go with it simply because the Devils have one of the best defenses in the league. And so that one turned out all right. Like I said, a lot of my picks came in, but I had some big picks not come in. And I had the Lightning money line here all day. That was a big play for me. I just thought the Kraken coming home. It's just a 7-day road trip, first game back off of long road trip and all of that. I don't care how good they did on their 7-game road trip. First game back is tough because you come back, you see your family, it changes your energy. All the players disperse to their families, and they have family stuff they got to look at. I mean, you don't know what's going on in their lives and stuff like that. They have to-do lists, and they got to take care of stuff. Single guys, they got their girlfriends. They're going to jump up and down on them for a while. It changes their energy. And the Lightning, I just felt the Lightning were wanting to be all over that. Oh, yeah, you think you're that good? Remember, we're the champions. Or we're not the champions now, but one of the champions of the last 4 or 5 years. And I felt that they were going to show them that. Not to mention, I'm not a Grubauer fan. Still not a Grubauer fan. I still think Seattle is going to regress somewhere down the road here, but we'll see. And we're going to be talking about the Kraken, of course, in the games coming up tonight. The Sharks impressed you? Yeah. I mean, the Sharks, Quinn is a good coach. He's a great motivator. And when they're playing, they're not losing games usually by a lot. Like, they do play hard, and they try to find ways to win. They're not really in tank mode like some of the other teams out there. Maybe they should be, but they're not as far as how they play. This is a team that is doing all the right things, but don't have the manpower to be able to win on a regular basis, or the goaltending for that matter. Honestly, there would be another one. I should probably, when I do my Vejmelka trade, that would be a possibility, except for the fact that, of course, they are in the same division. I don't know if he'd want to do that, but I'd definitely be looking at it. I still get the idea that the San Jose Sharks are rebuilding, but they're really going to retool. I think they're going to get rid of some big contracts. They're going to get as many draft picks as they can, and then try to fill those contracts in and keep rolling, because that market, it's really hard to do a serious rebuild in markets like San Jose, Anaheim, and other markets such as that. Columbus is going to have a difficult time there. I don't think they can go like 7 years sucking. So, and I don't think the Sharks will too. Like, I really doubt that they're going to do a proper rebuild in San Jose. I think Meyer will likely have to go, because I think Meyer probably wants to go. He's been in the organization for a while. They haven't had success. He sees somewhat of a rebuild coming up. Also, $10 million is going to have to be the start of his next contract. So they're going to, whatever team grabs him, they're going to have to par down his AAV. And if he wants to go, he can easily say he's not going to par down his AAV to the San Jose Sharks to stay there. So he's sort of saying he wants to go, but, he's not going to come right out and hurt his value to the fans in San Jose and say, I want to leave. But that's kind of what I get there. He's sort of using this contract to kind of push himself out. Anyways, I had some pretty good picks there. The Stars, I kicked myself on this one. I stayed off the game. But this was DeBoer going back to his old team. And I really should have been all over the Stars here because it just seems to be that when a team plays for their coach, they win almost all the time. And they didn't have Ropo Hintz back. Eichel was back in for the Golden Knights, but they played hard for their team and they won. I didn't have anything on this game. I didn't have the under, over, nothing. I didn't play it at all. Penguins versus Ducks. I had Penguins team total over. A little bit on Penguins in regulation, but it was a weird spot. The thing about taking the Penguins, and the hard thing for the Penguins is they're the Penguins. Like, they got Sidney Crosby. When you got a young team like Anaheim going in, they want to play hard against Sidney Crosby. More teams highlight the Pittsburgh Penguins in their minds as a team that they're going to give everything they got to. So I took the over and the team total over. I had a little bit in reg. I ended up a little bit green on the game. But I sort of kicked myself that I didn't go, Ducks plus 1.5 there for that reason. The thing is, how do you trust the Ducks, right? I think Gibson also has a really good record against Pittsburgh. Possibly, I think he's from Pittsburgh as well. And in the back of his mind, I have an idea. I have a feeling that Gibson would always love to play for Pittsburgh. And you never know. Could happen. They could convince him to move on from Anaheim. And the Rangers versus the Blue Jackets, I had the over in this game, and that was not good. I shouldn't trust the Blue Jackets to score, even against Halak. So I lost out on that one. I ended up being red a couple. Oh, no, I took the Capitals. I had the Capitals at plus 125. That was an easy one for me. Although they didn't make it easy. I'm off the Islanders. Like I said, I've said it before. I'm selling on their second half. They're too old. I'm not going to bank on guys like Parise and stuff. Parise is still getting top minutes. Like, what the hell? They have some injuries to their younger players, so I guess that's probably why. But I don't like the Islanders in the second half. I could easily see them falling out, Florida taking them out, or something like that. It's going to be a grab bag down there on the bottom of this division. I just, Capitals just got shellacked by Philadelphia. They're working their new members back, new old members with Wilson and Backstrom. And they had a couple of games to do it. And I thought against an Islanders team that I really don't have all that much confidence in, that they'd be able to pull it out. Unfortunately, I did have the under in that game as well. So, Predators, this is where I lost out. I took the Flames against the Predators, but I mean, I didn't have big on any of this. I don't trust the Flames. I did have the under for a good amount here. Yeah, that's why I only lost like 2 units on the day. I had a big play on the under here. The Flames can't score. Saros is incredible. In fact, like, Sutter's teams always grip their stick too tight, always. He's a great coach and a bad coach at the same time. He has a way, he always says things like, well, it's hard to score in this league. It's hard to make the playoffs, and he vocalizes that as much as he, like, it seems like as much as he can, which just puts it in the players' heads that, hey, it's hard to score, And he plays it. He did it in LA. The last 2 years he was a coach of LA, they couldn't score with the shit. And it's happening with the Flames here again. So now looking back on it, why didn't I take Flames team total under here? I don't know why. I should have. Forget about the team total under sometimes. And the Blues versus Senators, I thought the Senators were going to pull that out, and actually they outplayed them. I didn't take anything on the total, but I did have the Senators. So I ended up down to about 2 units, something like that on the day. Not something that happens very often. I'm usually green pretty much every day. But yesterday wasn't my favorite day. I did do really well on NCAA basketball and NBA basketball. That brought me up an awful lot too. So, okay, let's go to the games today so we can all be on our way. Montreal, Winnipeg. I like Winnipeg here, but I'm tempering my play because they play Toronto next. It's a look-ahead spot. It's a look-ahead spot, but it's a look-ahead spot against Montreal. Montreal is just not very good, and they're injured all the shit. I think even if Winnipeg is looking ahead here a little bit, they'll still win this game in regulation. That's how bad it is. Montreal now apparently are without Slavkovsky again now as well. Let's look it up here. Slavkovsky, Jake Evans is out, which doesn't mean much, but he is a body. Joel Armia, Gallagher, Monahan's already been out. Like, he's going to be probably injured his whole career. And you got guys like Jesse Alonen playing with Nick Suzuki and Caulfield, and Hoffman is ass. Kirby Doc's got to prop up that line with Hoffman up there. Josh Anderson is okay. And then Evgeny Dadonov, he's been on vacation ever since he signed that $5 million contract. He just kind of went, woo! Whatever. I'm golfing. Send me wherever you want. I don't care. I'll just go through the motions and go back home. That's basically what I get from him. Rem Pitlick, I mean, is on the third line. He's not a third liner. He's got to be in your top six or he's useless. It's just an ass lineup. Ass. Savard and Edmondson are both bad. If they get a first round pick for Edmondson, Hughes should be. That would be amazing, like they did with Sherratt. But they probably will, because there's organizations out there that basically put their analytics department in a closet somewhere, and they just see big. He can be physical. He's 6'5", 224. So we want him, and that's pretty much it. And so somebody will probably give up a first and be very disappointed in it. But anyways, I got to take Winnipeg here. I don't know how you do anything else, but even though it's a look-ahead spot, I'm taking Winnipeg in regulation. Malton Bull is playing again. He's not very good. I could get behind team total over with Winnipeg, although sometimes they're, like I said, if they're looking ahead at all, they may try to conserve themselves for Toronto. I may consider an under here because I don't see Montreal getting, especially if they use Hellebuyck. There's something. It's possible there could be a, what's his name sighting here, their backup. Somebody help me out. It's possible they don't use Hellebuyck here. But he's playing really well. He's playing actually well for him. What the hell's his name? Big Save Dave. Big Civ Dave, as what's his name likes to call him. But he has been better this year. There's been a better energy in Winnipeg. So with that good energy, usually comes good goaltending. That's Bonus has done well that way. David Rittich, right. So, yeah, I'll go Winnipeg in regulation. I lighter on team total over. I'll probably just go Winnipeg regulation there. Not laying, what is it? Money line is like minus 200, so you're getting like you can get like minus 120, somewhere around there. It's actually gone, you're not getting as good a value as you would if you would have picked it up right away. I picked it up this morning. Anaheim versus Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game. I think Philadelphia is going to win this game. Anaheim had their big game against Pittsburgh. You know, they got up for that game and stuff, and now you're going over to Philadelphia, and nobody really cares. But Philadelphia probably does, because they just do, because you have Tortorella there. So Philadelphia is not going to tank. They're going to play hard, and they play a good structured game. Coming off a big loss against Boston, I think they're going to be a little bit embarrassed coming into this, and they're going to want to get their themselves back up on their feet again, dust themselves off, and play a good game against Anaheim. And if you play a good game against Anaheim, especially with Stolarz in net, I think there's a really good chance you win it. Philadelphia's back up there, Ersson. Guys play well. He might not play well here. It's possible, but I have no reason to think he won't. He's fighting for an NHL contract. Like I said, Philadelphia's energy this year is really good in that room. It seems they fixed all those room problems and everything. And I just don't see these kids wanting to work in Anaheim, wanting to work hard enough to beat Philadelphia. I really like Philadelphia in regulation there. I think they're going to do a number on Anaheim. So I'll take Philly in regulation. And I kind of lean the over too. Philadelphia, when they put it together, they can pot them. Anaheim might get a couple. You know, I kind of like the over 6, and Philadelphia in regulation. I really like that play, because it's one of those plays it's one of those games that nobody's paying attention to. And so if there's any funny business going on behind the scenes, this is probably not the game. It's not a game that a lot of people are going to be betting. So I like Philadelphia. What do we got next? Florida versus Toronto. Bad spot for Florida. Coming off a big win. It looks like it might be lying unless they go back to back with Bobrovsky. Matt Murray's played fantastic. I should have looked at this too. As I'm doing this, I haven't looked close enough here at what the scheduling spot has been for these guys. Yeah, Anaheim's. I'm not really worried about the back-to-back with Anaheim, actually, because they did have a lot. They could have some decent energy, which gives me a more lean to the over there. And Toronto should be rested here too, right? Yeah, they just lost to the Bees too. Like, yeah, they're gonna want to get back on track here. I don't think Florida has much of a chance in this game. Florida has been playing on the road for a long time, have they not? Where are they? Where's Florida? 2 games on the road, played, and they shouldn't be all that tired, but tired enough, and with a bad goaltender, and Toronto being angry after Boston loss. Give me Toronto in regulation. Maybe team total over there too. They have been scoring well as of late. So I kind of like that. Also, I think the matchup is Toronto has owned them, if I remember correctly. No, actually, Florida's done fairly well. 7-2 to the over there. I think the over is a pretty good play. I just really like the way Murray is playing. And if Florida's going to be using Lyon, they're probably going to be trying to protect their backup, you know, trying to make it so he doesn't get embarrassed for sure. However, Toronto could win. This could be 5-2. I could see 5-2, something like that. Like, I really think Toronto's going to be angry coming into this one. Although the only thing that Florida's got going for them is they've trended well in Toronto. And the thing about that is that a lot of anybody going into Toronto, they usually have a lot of players from Toronto, and it's big for them to play games against Toronto. Toronto are 8-1 straight up in their last 9 games when playing at home against Florida, though. Holy shit. Yeah, give me Toronto. Toronto in regulation. If you want to put a little on -1.5 there, go ahead. Have fun with that. Washington versus Minnesota. Minnesota has just been, with Gustafsson and net, they don't allow him any goals. Gustafsson's got one of the highest expected goals goalies in the league right now. If I remember, yeah, his expected goals against, he's like 10 goals above saves 10 goals above expected. Minnesota without some of their Minnesota is also, if I remember correctly, they're injured still, and since they've lost a couple of their guys, they've played a very defensive system. Also, I think they're really preparing for the type of game that they're going to play in the playoffs. So with all of that, you got Greenway's back too. That Greenway Eriksson Foligno line is one of the most underrated shutdown lines in the league. Going against a Washington team who's coming off a back-to-back, they're, if I remember correctly, they're not. Well, I know they're not. They're not very good in coming off of back-to-backs. Now this year, Washington has been better in bad spots. Like, it seems like they really they have been putting their minds to. They haven't let their minds wander in bad spots as much this year, but I don't like it here. Minnesota is still kind of fighting for a playoff spot. They're driven. It's not like they've got tons of points. I'm going to look up the standings here. I like to look at that too. It's not like they're way up on everybody in the division and they can go into a spot like this and not worry about losing. Not to mention with I think they kind of know they don't really have a team that can do that sort of thing. They got to give her every game, especially down this second half. It's a tough division that they're in. My page is not responding. Okay, here we go. Where are they in? Yeah, they're in. Okay, so they have 52 points, and you got Edmonton and Calgary with 51. They're fairly safe, but two things. I don't think Minnesota doesn't have the type of team, I think, that wants to just kind of slide into the playoffs. I think they need to give themselves as much of an advantage as they can going into the playoffs. Secondly, I don't think they've ever won their division, or at least not. And I think that's a driving point for what they're doing. They've got three games in hand and 2 games in hand on Winnipeg. I think they can smell that top of the division, and you get to play. With that in mind, you'd be able to play a team that they more likely can be beat in the first round. And that's kind of what I think they're trying to do here as much as possible. Just get greatest advantage as they possibly can. So going against a team like Washington, who still has that reputation of being a top team. And I believe that players don't really pay much attention to the fact that, Washington really isn't a contender right now. It's got Ovechkin. It's a big team. It's a team to get up for. Kaprizov is playing against the legend in his land, right? So I think they're going to give her everything here in this game. They're sort of rested. They've had some days off. I like Minnesota here. And since they're playing such a structured defensive game, and Gustafsson is in, I think the under is probably a pretty good play. Lindgren is in for Washington. He plays well. And I think Washington's probably going to try to hold on here. I think in the mind of Washington, I wouldn't even mind looking at a draw here. But I think in the mind of Washington, they'd be happy to pick up a point. And if they're going to do that against this Minnesota team, they're probably going to have to grind it out against them. So under is probably a good look. Under 6. Columbus versus Nashville. Both of them coming off of a back-to-back. Columbus had 2 days off before that 1 day off before the back-to-back. And Nashville played quite a bit last week. And they're coming off a win against Calgary that they really didn't deserve to win, honestly. Like, Calgary did sort of outplay them all the way through, which is what they've been doing with Saros in net. Now you got Lankinen in net against probably Tarasov. I don't know. It's probably Nashville, I guess. I mean, they're at home. They're more driven than Columbus is, I would say, to win here. They still can smell a playoff spot. I'd probably lean the under here again, to tell you the honest truth. Lankinen is actually a pretty good goaltender. And Columbus really isn't all that great. It hasn't been able to score with the shit. They lost 3-1 against the Rangers. And I just don't see, and they didn't even come up for that game. That might be the bad thing. I heard the coach talking about how it basically was really disappointed with their effort. So I would imagine their effort is better here. I could see Columbus plus 1.5. I think I'll just be off this game. I don't really like this game. Tell me, if you're in the comment section, tell me what you think about this, by the way. Listen to what I'm saying. Tell me what you think of it. Buffalo, Chicago. I mean, if Buffalo should be angry and shit in this game. Buffalo should destroy this game. The only thing I don't like about it is Stalock is in net. He's played really well. Buffalo, it's probably going to be, I don't know, is Anderson available? I'm definitely going to want to know who the goaltender is here before I go here, because Craig Anderson is expected. He hasn't looked great his last couple. No, it's Mrazek. Forget about it. Sabres team total over 3.5. I don't know what you're getting for that. Probably, I don't know. I don't think it'll be that much. Sabres, they got to come out here after that performance last night. And I think that they were kind of had that in the back of their mind that they got Chicago after this. I don't really care that it's a back-to-back. These are young legs. And they're going to have a coach that I think is going to tear into them a little bit here. Something that I don't get the idea that Granato does that too often, but that was a pathetic performance yesterday. That was a pathetic performance. Sabres minus 0.5 first period. I wouldn't be team total over 3.5. What are you getting for? Oh, minus 120. Yeah. Team total against Mrazek. Mrazek just let 6 goals in the first period against the Seattle Kraken. And I don't think he's going to be any better. Sabres team total over 3.5 to me is the play here. Then you don't need to worry. Maybe Chicago comes out hard. Buffalo is on a back-to-back. Maybe they feel like they want to play for their fans tonight. I don't know. But I think Buffalo's going to come out hard for sure. So Sabres minus 0.5 first period. I like team total over. I really like that. That might be my play of the day. Sabres team total over 3.5. Now, the only thing that I'm a little hesitant about here is that the Buffalo Sabres have been scoring at a very high. They have a very high shooting percentage, and it's not sustainable. I won't go into it and show it to you now. It's really what happened yesterday is probably going to happen more often down the road here. So that kind of worries me a little bit. But if they're playing hard at all against Chicago tonight, which I think they will, I could see them scoring 3.5 on Mrazek. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Why would you not think that? I don't know. If you anybody out there believes otherwise, let me know. Detroit versus Arizona. Am I laying -1, whatever it is, for Detroit here against an Arizona team at home? Probably not. Don't really like Arizona. This game could go anyway. They got Hellberg in net. Probably over. But Detroit could get Vejmelka tonight. Arizona hasn't won in a while. They're at home. But they're also sort of in tank mode. I mean, this is a tough game to cap, really. They played Winnipeg, they beat Toronto, they had I think it was a letdown spot against Columbus. Then and now, oh yeah, they just got their ass spanked by Colorado last night. So yeah, they could be angry and come out and take it out on Arizona. I could see that. Getting their ass spanked, that's another one where I really need to. That was the other reason why I like Detroit or Colorado, because it's one of those situations again where you got a weak sister right after that. So if you lose that game, you can get yourself back on track against Arizona. Yeah. Detroit should win that game. They should win that game. But I could actually kind of see it as an over. I could see them coming out pissed off, just peppering shots. I just don't like taking overs with Vejmelka in that. I really like the guy. Arizona at home, I think they lost their last 2 or 3 at home. I think the old Mullet Arena, playing hard for your fans, stuff like that is sort of wore off now. I would lean Detroit, and I would lean the over. But that's about all I can say about that. And finally, Seattle and Edmonton. And I don't think I'm touching this game. I had Edmonton at first. My first instinct was to take Edmonton here. It's just simply because Seattle had a 7-game road trip. Come back, play. You just don't see this spot very often. Seldom do they just pepper a team like this. And seldom when a team is peppered like this do they do so well. They lost against Tampa Bay, but if you watched that game last night, Seattle Seattle played well. Seattle really did play well. It's not like they seemed like they were conserving themselves or kind of mailing it in. The thing is, you go a 7-game road trip, and now you have a back-to-back spot, and it's on the road again. You got to play Tampa, then you got to jump on a plane. It's not far to go to Edmonton, but it's not like it's still you're still on the road, and you got to take your impeccable road record, which is absolutely fantastic, to an Edmonton team that I don't know if I can trust. I don't know if I can trust. Just because they won a couple in a row here now. Are they going to be just satisfied and then come up against Seattle? You never know where the mindset is for this Edmonton team. Kane is supposed to be back in the lineup tonight. very possibly. Let's take a look at that. See if that's actually going to happen. Yeah, Evander Kane's going to be back in the lineup tonight, and they're going to have him. They're going to take it easy on him and put him in the third line with McLeod and Fogle. He won't do anything there. There's no use. Why wouldn't you just put him put him with Nugent Hopkins or something? Somebody that can pass him the puck. Because Evander Kane's not a guy that scores on his own. I don't like that at all. Limit his minutes to 5-on-5 and put him with Nugent Hopkins. I don't understand that. I think that's just a waste. I don't get it. If that's how it's going to be, I don't see Kane doing much of anything. If Evander Kane's going to be on that line, here's one for you. Check out. Tell me what you can get on Evander Kane under 0.5 points. I could see Kane not doing anything tonight. So I don't think Evander Kane coming back. He's going to need a couple days. They're not even putting him in the AHL. He's been off for a long time. He should be rusty. So it's all going to be about that top line, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Hyman. And Seattle is one of the best defensive teams in the league. This is weird, but I think I would look towards an under here. I think Seattle is certainly not going to want to run up and down with Edmonton. I think they're going to play their best defensive game possible and kind of trap them. And Edmonton has always sucked against teams that are trapping them. It's like kryptonite to the Edmonton Oilers to trap them. That's why they don't have much success in the playoffs. If you got a trap in your arsenal, you play it against Edmonton. So I could see Seattle winning this, plus 155? No, that was my original, but my original one was Edmonton just because the spot is so bad. It's just terrible. It's a terrible spot. Jones will be in net. He's played not too bad. I'm pretty sure because Grubauer was in net last. Maybe Seattle plus 1.5 and minus 160 might be the better play. Rather than Edmonton minus one. Edmonton at minus 155 or whatever they are at. Yeah, I kind of like the under. You're getting plus money on the under here. I think that's the play here. I don't like taking Edmonton unders, but I think Seattle might not have their legs fully, but they'll have enough legs to play, a trap type system against Edmonton. Edmonton kind of outshoots them, but they just block shots and survive. I could see it. Edmonton, I'd say under 6.5 would be the play here. So we go over it real quick for everybody in the land. We got Winnipeg in regulation, lean into the under. Philadelphia versus Anaheim. I like Philadelphia. And kind of like over 6. I probably look to the over 6. I was looking at possibly Seattle team total over. But like I said, I don't know where their legs are going to be at, honestly. And Campbell has looked not too bad. And that's the other reason why I like the under. Actually, it should be Skinner tonight, shouldn't it? Is it going to be Skinner? I wouldn't go with Skinner, honestly. Because if Campbell is getting on a roll, I would just keep on rolling with him. It says Skinner is projected, but I don't know if they're actually going to go with that or not. So I'll reserve that. I think the under at plus 1. I'll sprinkle a little bit on the under on that. And Toronto, I like Toronto in regulation. I think the over-under is a 7. I don't know if I would play that. I don't know if Florida's going to score enough here. I actually, I don't think score. I would probably lean under if that's the case. I don't think if it's a 7, I would probably lean under, which is weird against a Florida team. But Minnesota, Washington, I like under, and I like Minnesota. Nashville, Columbus, I lean Nashville. I can't back Columbus on anything. Nashville is more driven to win right now. I think it's probably I got to go with Nashville there. Maybe 2-pick parlay with. You're getting minus 114. I didn't even notice that. The Sabres are you're getting -1. That was almost a pick 'em against Chicago. What's going on there? I didn't look at the matchups for a lot of these. Oh, Chicago owns them a little bit. Chicago owns them a little bit. Buffalo are 4-15 straight up on their last 19 against Chicago. Jesus. I guess I shouldn't be all over this so fast, right? Wow. They're 1-10 straight up in their last 11 games. I guess I should have looked at that. But, I mean, Chicago was never this bad before. I don't know. That's weird. I'll have to take a closer look at that. Anyways, you guys can all get whatever picks I'm going to get for you at bpalpicks.com. Ask me for the link in the comment section. I'll set you up, and you can be part of it. But that's my full 42 today. That's been a lot of fun, boys and girls. I've enjoyed it immensely. Anybody in the chat right now, you want to talk about anything? I'll just blab about whatever it is you want to blab about. I did want to talk about that Vancouver stuff. What an absolute disaster that is in there. But if Provorov is available, what an absolute disaster that is in Vancouver right now. Holy crap. I'm going to turn the window capture off here. What do you seriously let it get leaked out that Rick Tocchet is in waiting? The only thing I could think here is it's some sort of a message to everybody that you got to win now. But for my money, no way am I hiring Rick Tocchet now. No way. Are you kidding me? This is the biggest thing I get out of it. You can't have something like that get leaked unless they purposely leaked it to send a message, and they have no intention of hiring Rick Tocchet. But you can't hire Rick Tocchet now. If that got leaked and you didn't want it to happen, you got to find out where that leak happened and fire that person's ass. That's ridiculous. How come my window capture is still on? I got my window capture off. Why is it going here? You got to fire that guy's ass. You can't allow that to happen, man. There's no way. Like, if Rick Tocchet gets hired now, forget about Vancouver for a long time. Oh, yeah, Stone being out. I should have been more on Dallas there. For sure. But you can't hire Rick Tocchet now. I like Lou Lamoriello that way. Even if it's a trade or whatever, and somehow it gets leaked out to the media that the trade happens, he will call the general manager and tell them, trade's over. I don't care. He doesn't even care if he's winning the trade. It won't matter. If you leak it out that trade is happening, he will call them and say, no trade. See you later. Bye. And this is what you got to do here. There's no way in hell the Vancouver Canucks can hire Rick Tocchet now. No way. And poor Rick Tocchet. I hope Rick Tocchet is out there somewhere going, what? Like, maybe he wasn't part of it. I don't understand. Because if I'm Rick Tocchet, I'm like, no, I'm not going to you guys. No way. Rick Tocchet will find a job somewhere. You're going to go work for an organization that can't even keep it secret, within house, that they're looking to hire somebody. And then when it does get leaked out, they act like it's no big deal. They just kind of pretend it doesn't happen if it's actually a leak. The only other thing I can think is somebody just made it up and it's not ever actually going to happen. But I'll tell you, if it does happen, Vancouver is not going anywhere for a long time. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And poor Boudreau, like sitting there going, Bruce Boudreau is like pretty much knows his neck is on a chopping block. And even if he doesn't, even if it all is just whatever, it's such a strong rumor that your president and general manager do not come out and say, no, Bruce is the coach and we're sticking with, like something. Now, what a disaster. He also came out and talked about how they mentioned something about tanking, and he said, ask him, are you tanking or something? It was a stupid question, but his answer was, or do you think you will be looking to tank down the road or something like that? And his answer was, I think we're tanking now, aren't we? And I think he said it as a joke, basically kind of half joking in the sense that we're not playing very well already, so that would seem like a tank to me. We're playing so bad that it would seem like a tank. But he did mention that he, not very happy with himself that he couldn't get cap space. Okay, well, you did sign Miller to a ridiculously high contract. You brought in, what's his name there? From Vancouver, Mikheyev, for 4.7 till 2026. In doing so, giving yourself no room for defensemen, which was your obvious problem. Yeah, I would be pretty unhappy with myself that I made moves like that and didn't fix the defense, which was the obvious problem and has been the obvious problem. And now you got to try to fix the defense by trading probably Bo Horvat, because nobody's taking Miller on that contract now after it is, I don't think anybody is, after it's become quite obvious that he's not really a leader. And he probably will never hit that 100-point mark ever again. So Horvat, and okay, I want to go on. I'm going to continue on this rant. I've heard tons of people say that Horvat isn't the type of leader that they need and all that kind of stuff like that, saying he's been with us a long time, we haven't got anywhere, so we should trade Horvat. I'll tell you, Horvat in his own way has been saying things about the defense for a long time. Now, he never came out and said, he's very diplomatic. He very diplomatically does things, where Miller doesn't. Miller's not diplomatic at all. But Horvat would say things like, yeah, I had this argument with this guy who said, Horvat just keeps on saying that the defense has to be better over and over again, but it never does happen. So obviously he's part of the problem. The problem is, what he was saying was the defense has to be better over and over again, is him saying the organization obviously needs to do something with the defense. He's not going to come out and say, our defensemen are not good. That's not a healthy way to talk. And even though it's true, he's just more diplomatic than Miller. And he diplomatically said the exact things that needed to be done, and the organization hasn't done anything. Horvat has not been the problem in Vancouver at all. I think it's a terrible idea that he's the one that's traded. It should have been Miller, but difficult spot. There was nobody could take the cap room. I think people know what Miller's all about. I think that's what happened, is they couldn't find anybody to take Miller for the money, and they realized that the only way we're going to get D in here is trade Horvat. It might have been something like that. But what a mess in there in Vancouver. Anyways, I wanted to talk about that. And that's all I got for you today, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening. I might be on tomorrow. We'll see. If you want my picks for sure for tomorrow, though, bpalpicks.com. Search it, get in there, and make all the monies. Have a great day, everybody. Okay, bye.